We've said this on the show about 1,000 times. This election season is like no other, and the polls are showing it. New polls put Donald Trump in a position with the black community like Republicans haven't seen in decades. Survey USA predicts Trump could win at least 25% of the black vote. To put this in perspective, George Bush received less than 9% of the black vote, and Senator McCain received less than 4% when he ran against Obama. Take a look.
For more than a year now, across thousands of miles in all 50 states, tens of millions of Americans have made their voices heard. Today, I just want to add mine. I want to congratulate Hillary Clinton on making history as the presumptive Democratic nominee for President of the United States. Look, I know how hard this job can be. That's why I know Hillary will be so good at it. In fact, I don't think there's ever been someone so qualified to hold this office.
Joining me now is Director of Outreach at Generation Opportunity and Senior Fellow at the Independent Women's Forum, Patrice Lee. Patrice, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Donald Trump, as I said in the intro, he's currently polling at about 25% with black voters. Patrice, does this surprise you?
It's surprising to see that black voters are this election cycle actually moving away from the traditional ticket and moving towards what could be a good change for them. I think this is the first election we've seen where finally blacks are not being taken for granted and their votes are not being taken for granted. And that's a wake-up call for those on the left who are running as well as those on the right.
Right. President Obama, as we just heard in the intro, he endorsed Hillary Clinton, and in both of his elections, he received just astronomical percentages of the black vote. Is his endorsement, do you think, going to influence Hillary Clinton's ability to capture the black vote?
I am skeptical, in part because the black vote is not monolithic. I mean, you've got young people who, you've got older black Americans who remember the Clinton dynasty, and they remember the good old days when, in fact, unemployment did fall for blacks and personal income increased. But young people don't remember that. What they do care about are issues like criminal justice reform, and unfortunately, a lot of the candidates we've seen are not too strong on that issue. So will President Obama's endorsement really do anything? Again, I'm skeptical of that.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, especially, I think, when it comes to criminal justice reform, how critical Bernie Sanders has been of Hillary Clinton. And that's where a lot of young people, especially, who I think are the most swing voters, young people especially are skeptical of Hillary. But Patrice, let me ask you this. I had this conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and he was asking me if I thought the Republican Party could ever win a majority of the black vote. What do you think?
I think if conservatives are serious about the issues that affect all of our communities, but particularly the black community, things like criminal justice reform, but also employment. I mean, when you look at unemployment for a young black person in this country, we're talking about 18%. That's double the national average, and you have millions of young people of color who are sitting out of the system and unfortunately finding other ways of making income. So if conservatives are serious about policy and a policy agenda that really brings jobs and empowers young people to find work, whatever occupation that could be, then I think you could make some tremendous headway. Let's not forget the history of the Republican Party and where the black vote originally originated. It was not until after the 60s and the civil rights movement that we saw a sea change in how blacks voted.
Right. So how does the GOP make this happen, though? Because everything you said, the jobs, the opportunity, those are Republican platforms currently. It's not a new issue that Republicans need to target. That is holistically what the Republican Party is about, yet we're still not capturing the attention of the black community, particularly black millennials. What do they have to do to get the attention?
So you've got to be out in the communities and not just during the election season. I mean, I give a lot of credit to Senator Rand Paul, who has listening tours where he sits down in barbershops, black barbershops in communities of color, and listens to what the issues are there. It's not surprising then that he's been such a strong advocate for things like criminal justice reform. But we also have to look at the state level and the federal level, some of the ways that blacks are losing opportunity. It can be changing licensing rules. It can be the sharing economy. A lot of the policies on the left left are to limit opportunity, to put more restrictions on a young person or any person's ability to, pursue their own interest and find opportunity. And what we as the right have to do is we have to have voices, different voices and different faces, making the same case that what we believe in fundamentally is taking the government out of our lives and letting us run fast, far, and wide to achieve everything we can do. The left is not going to say that because the government is their solution, but the right, we see individual pursuit as that solution, and that's the best one.
Right, and Patrice, we also see Hillary Clinton not just pandering to the black community, but pandering to women, to young women in particular. And maybe you can explain this to me, because I don't quite understand why such a majority of women support Hillary Clinton in an age where it's not that big of an accomplishment, with all due respect. It's not that big of an accomplishment for a woman to be successful, because we have all the same opportunities as men have nowadays. Why do so many women support her?
Well, again, let's look at the younger versus the older women. Our moms and our grandmothers see Hillary Clinton as, a figure who has achieved a lot, and I'm not going to diminish what she has accomplished. However, as young women, we want to know what you're actually going to do, what policymakers are going to do for us, if they're female or not. Gender is not what's driving our decision in the ballot box. It's, what is your stance on issues that we really care about? And, whether it's Hillary Clinton, whomever is seeking any type of office, or changing policy in this nation, we care about more than just traditional reproductive rights and traditional quote-unquote women's issues. All issues are women's issues and issues that we care about, especially young women, when you consider we have high unemployment, high student loan debt, and we're still trying to catch up to where we just want to be able to start our own businesses. So what are the regulations that are keeping us from doing that? That we haven't heard enough about.
So is that the message that should come from the GOP then to young women, about entrepreneurship, about opportunity, not about victimhood?
Absolutely. I mean, for college campuses, young women are inculcated with the idea that they are victims, and that they continue to hear that. So what we need to do on the right is we need to do a better job of saying, you know what, you are not a victim. You are actually empowered. And then for those who truly are, face discrimination or face any sort of assault, we call that out, call it what it is. But it's not as much as young people are led to believe. We actually have a ton of power. And I love a great commercial that I saw from a deodorant company, where instead of an older woman saying to a younger woman, go get it. Mentorship was what drove her, not the argument about wage gaps and whether Bob was making more money than her. We need to change the narrative, and we can do that as young conservative women, women across the country, just standing up and saying, hey, I can do it and you can do it. We don't need government stepping in to make anything happen for us.
Right, I completely agree, and I couldn't have said it better myself. Patrice, it was great to talk to you. Thanks for being here. Coming up, if you defend traditional marriage as a college professor, you might be suspended. But if you make radical anti-Republican comments, you're given a pay raise. Campus Reform is here next.